You're obviously new to this whole existence, but truth is, most of you types won't even make it a whole year. We have one rule. You don't break the masquerade.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kieran, and yes, welcome back to a brand new Bloodlines 2 video. I know I've been waiting a long time to make this one, just because I've been waiting for brand new information to come out, but then I realised, wait, there was 3 factions that were announced quite a wee while ago, and guess what? I have not covered it on this channel yet. So today, we will be covering said factions. Those factions will be the Unseen, the Baron and the Newcomers, and we're going to be also talking about how the game is progressing as well, because it was delayed, which I don't think I've talked about on the channel yet. It was delayed till later this year, and we got a recent dev diary, so we're getting to see a little bit of progress, especially with all this fucking coronavirus business going about as well. Let's check up in Bloodlines, but anyway, let's dive in to the very first faction. So yeah, the first faction we'll be taking a look at is, of course, the Unseen. The name kind of speaks for itself, since this faction is mostly unseen by the general population, unlike other vampire factions. This is mainly because the faction is made up of mostly Nosferatu, which, if you don't know what this clan is, they are the most horrific looking out of all the vampire clans. And because they're the most horrific looking, they cannot blend into crowds, and yeah, like, it just makes life completely irritating, especially if you play as them. Apologies to any Nosferatu players out there, I know it's quite hard to hear that your clan is ugly as fuck. Anyway, the website goes into more details of the faction, saying this: Seattle has been a city of drifters, transients and homeless for almost as long as it's existed. By and large, people just look the other way. The Unseen walk among these unfortunates, hidden in plain sight to vampire and human alike. For more than a century, the Unseen have been led by the Council of Three, or the speakers to the Nosferatu. They help their people survive among the homeless and the loners of the city. While the rest of Seattle's vampires took pains to ignore them, these Unseen grew into a faction, began trading secrets and grudges. So they act more like a criminal underworld gang than the other factions. Or at least that's what they used to be like when they first settled in Seattle. Now the Unseen utilise their minds instead of their bronze, using the likes of technology. Most of the Nosferatu in the faction are actually journalists, engineers and hackers. I do like the idea of this scrappy, hidden little faction that only exists in the sewers of the city, essentially having the true power of Seattle. Of course, information being power here. This definitely makes the Unseen powerful foes to go against, especially if you don't know where they're really located. Knowing in this day and age, they'll probably just leak your bad Twitter internet history or something like that and manage to get a hashtag Venturu cancelled on the go. I'm kinda curious what kind of quest you're going to be doing for the Unseen. Maybe it's going to be like, you're sent out to blackmail key people in the city, like the Venturu or something like that, and then so the Nosferatu are the ones secretly controlling the city, despite being underground and not really, again, seen. Next we have the Baron. Now the Baron is an interesting one because the faction's name is actually a name of a singular vampire dubbed the Baron of Aurora. This character honestly reminds me of like Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, as he never really makes himself known and never really reveals his true self. The Baron is essentially like a criminal empire in Seattle, taking in the city's poor and desperate and turning them into ruthless soldiers to enforce the Baron's turfs and business interests. Back on the Bloodlines 2 website, they say this about the faction: nobody likes the Baron and his people until they need something done or procured quietly and quickly. Someone will play this part in any city. Many of Seattle's powerful tell themselves that it's just as well to further indebt yourself to the devil, you know. No matter who you are, no matter what you did, no matter who you're running from, the Baron has a job for you. Promotion and power comes quickly in his organisation. That's if you can stomach it. So yeah, he is pretty much the godfather of Seattle, which is quite cool, I must admit. Working for the Baron would actually be quite an interesting playthrough. Working up the ranks from a simple enforcer to a lieutenant or something like that, and then only then you will finally come face to face with the actual Baron. I'm really curious what his backstory is and what his plans are for Seattle. Maybe he was the one who caused the mass embrace, who knows? He seems sneaky, so maybe he has some weird master plan on the go, you never know. Finally we come to the faction called The Newcomers. This faction are led primarily by the Tremere clan, with Professor Victor Goga, a charismatic leader who offers any vampire to join his ranks and in turn have access to one of the city's richest hunting grounds. Vampires in Seattle are drawn into the Newcomers with promise of something greater and of course a plentiful of blood. I mean, as a vampire, who doesn't love a wee bit of blood? For some reason that just sounded really wrong. Due to the faction's popularity, if you want to call it that, it puts them on the Baron's list of competition, which after reading up on the Baron, it doesn't really seem like a fun list to be onto, to be honest. Now this is what their page says about them. The Tremere have been historically kept out of Seattle until Prince Cross suddenly allowed them access to the University District territory. Nobody seems to know quite what led the Warlocks to make the journey from Europe to the far edge of America. Given the Camarillas' generosity, it seems like they paid a high price to enter the city. What that price was, no one's quite sure. The Newcomers recruit and hunt on university grounds, which is a good and bad thing because we all know what uni students are like, especially nowadays, and this is coming from a current uni student, so I have experience dealing with them, let's say. It would definitely be interesting interacting with politically correct vampires.
So what you're gonna have to do to prove you belong with PC is go out there and check someone's privilege.
Finally, yes!
I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
So why are the Tremere here and why do they seemingly pay such a high price to come to Seattle? I mean, I don't have any clue whatsoever, but it'll be an interesting story to find out, especially since I'm going for a Tremere playthrough for my first run of the game. So that was the Unseen, Baron and Newcomers, all really interesting and unique factions to play around with. I'm definitely going to lean more towards the Newcomers just because, as I said before, I'll be playing as a Tremere, and also I'm just curious of how the overall faction will work and play out in the story. Last thing I want to discuss in this video before we wrap up is where the game is in development. So as you all know, coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic has been taking over the world, delaying games, delaying Rockstar, delaying fucking everybody. Much like all the other devs in the world, the Bloodlines 2 team is working from home and still making progress, but of course at a much slower rate, which you can't really blame them for, to be honest. Right now the team are currently powering away at side quests, systems and animations. The narrative design team are hard at work to ensure that the side quests feel integral to the overall Bloodlines 2 experience, so they are hard at work in that aspect. A big change they talk about in the dev diary is actually that your vampire character will be able to use things like Chiropaterin, Glide, Mentalism Pool, and Nebulation at any time regardless of your Thin Blood discipline. Now this is opposed to before where you can only get one of these secondary abilities depending on your discipline. They changed this because they wanted to make the character play more like a vampire, and one way of doing that is allowing more freedom of movement. Which, to be honest, I think I'm liking that choice. I'm liking the freedom to use any of these abilities instead of being locked down to, let's say, like Mentalism Pool or something like that. I do like how we just get all of them. So that was all the Bloodlines 2 info I have for you today. What do you think of all the factions, and what do you think of the new changes coming to abilities? Let me know down in the comments below. Special thanks to my lovely wee patrons, KG, Proxy1, TG Monster, and Enigma Plays 115 for your continued support over on my Patreon. Thank you guys so much. I do really appreciate it. So yeah, that was Bloodlines 2 for today, and I do really want to cover this game a lot more. I say this so much in streams where I'm like, hey, I want to do a Bloodlines 2 video, but there's no information, so I don't really know what to talk about, so it's probably going to be a long while, or maybe like next week or something like that, I don't know. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, the next time you see a Bloodlines 2 video is when information is going to be released for the game, because as you all know, I'm not one of those YouTubers that fucking sit here and be like, let's do a fuck ton of speculation videos and try and milk out the gameplay or something like that. So I do about 10 fucking gameplay analysis videos. You know, there's some channels that are like that. You know what ones I'm talking about. I do not have time for that shit. But yeah, thank you so much for watching the video, and I shall be seeing you all later. Bye bye.